Hello, everyone. Welcome to Great Place to Work Hong Kong's Best Workplaces 2022 award event. I'm Shane McDonnell, and I'll be your host this afternoon. We're very happy to have you all here in this extraordinary event today, as this year is our 10th year anniversary for Great Place to Work Greater China. This is our 7th celebration of the best workplaces in Hong Kong. We honor Hong Kong's best companies with our online celebration. Our event title this year is The End of Turbulence. Is your workplace ready for the next challenge? How the right assessment and data can help your workplace's evolution. I'd like to invite everybody viewing us today, whether it's from the office or at home, to participate, and let's make this interactive event. We'll just wait for 5 more minutes until everyone is online before we can officially kick off. Thank you so much for being here, and see you soon. Well, we're back and we will officially kick off the Best Workplaces in Hong Kong 2022 award ceremony. As I was saying before, this is our 7th event, so it's a milestone and we're very excited. A very special 7th year, and it's special because it's being held virtually under very special circumstances that we're living in right now with the COVID-19 pandemic that has brought so many challenges to us as individuals, workers, parents, and friends in so many ways. And this year's award ceremony is particularly special because we'll celebrate and recognize all those companies that are doing great, even during these unprecedented times. All of these companies are sustaining the culture that create trust. So our CEO, Mr. Jose Bezania, will give us more insights with our 3 panelists on how do you remodel the plane while it's flying later on. But first, let me thank our sponsor, Open Cert Hub Academy, and our other supporting organizations who are the Association of Cloud and Mobile Computing Professionals, Habitat for Humanity, UFO Academy, and Bristol Myers Squibb. And our Hong Kong media partners, CT Good Jobs and PR Newswire, that help us spread this good news. And now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our CEO, Jose Carlos Bezania. Jose Bezania, CEO, Great Place to Work Greater China, previously worked as the director of the Northwest region, Great Place to Work Mexico, for 5 years. He's been heading Great Place to Work Greater China since 2010.
Am I rolling? Rolling.
All right. Well, have you ever heard this phrase of that we need to remodel the plane while it's flying?
Yes.
It's something that nowadays I'm pretty sure is heavily positioned in the top of mind of a lot of leaders. They have to be doing this. So welcome to the panel discussion that we are going to have on today's event. So the idea is that while we've been doing all the assessments and working with all our customers, we've been learning how complicated this recent season of COVID and pandemic was. And we are using the analogy of the flying, of remodeling this plane while we are flying, because we certainly had a very turbulent time. We experienced this turbulence. It was it got really jumpy, and a lot of things shifted place. A lot of things not only physically shifted place, like lots of people working from home, for example, and lots of spaces at the workplace, they got emptied. And then when we are coming back, these spaces are adequate now for different ways of interaction. But also a lot of paradigms about what is happening in our organization, what is exactly happening in the workplace in terms of relationship, in terms of understanding where the motivation lies, where the productivity is, which buttons you can move, which levers you can use to really get the people going the best they can, understanding that the outside conditions are not necessarily the best. We are actually moving, we are trembling, we are shaking, right? So what has been done? But on top of all, look at us, we are wearing masks still in a live panel. And we are so looking forward to get rid of this and to get back to normal, which is not going to be normal anymore. It's going to be something else. We are going to learn how to do.
Normal, right.
And really, but I'm pretty sure we learned a lot. And I hope we really learn. And what we learn is something that we can apply for the betterment of everything, right? These things that shifted the paradigms of leadership, how to get in connection with your colleagues, and better communication, and to get the trust that is needed to oversee what they're doing somewhere else. It's really, really challenging, right? So this analogy that we are doing about the turbulence, we are also thinking about going forward. And so we're kind of done almost with this turbulence. We are like in the last, and we're reaccommodating in our places. But there's another turbulence that is coming. Very likely. We do not exactly know what is it and how it will look and what is going to happen, but there's another one. So what did we learn and how ready we are for what is coming next? And then the other angle that we want to bring to the conversation is where and how are we getting the data that we are using to react or to go forward to prevent what may happen, and how to deal with these situations in the best way possible, right? So in Great Place to Work, what we do is collect all this data from millions of companies and millions of employees at the companies, and this data is really useful to understand, to interpret, to create very interesting meetings among the management, among the employees, to think about, okay, so if this is happening, if they're feeling in this way, just think about the mental health issues that we're experiencing, right? What are we going to do it better? We have with us a very, very interesting panel, starting with, we're very honored to have the GM of Bristol Myers Squibb, Elaine Phillips, for Hong Kong and Macau, right? Elaine, welcome to our panel. Thank you for being here. It's not only the general manager of Bristol Myers Squibb, it's one of the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong for 2022, which is an amazing feat. Congratulations, Elaine.
Thank you.
Well, we also have with us Mr. Emil Chan, adjunct professor at City University of Hong Kong. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as an adjunct professor, but I also help startups and the SME
Fantastic.
To get funding and then glide through the turbulence with that airplane.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And we also have the presence of Dr. Victor Ng. He's heading Open Cert Hub Academy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. Welcome.
Yeah, we're also helping our client with the journey, but it's the digital transformation journey. There are also a lot of turbulence, and we use data and culture to help them to glide through the storm.
A lot.
Share more later.
We are looking forward to it. But let me start with Elaine, okay? As is the certified workplace, and I think you have a lot to share with us. Is your organization ready for the next challenge, Elaine? What can be done? What resources are you considering for what is coming next?
Oh, thank you, Jose, and it's great to be part of this panel discussion today. Absolutely, we've learned a huge amount over the past couple of years, and two things that really bubble up that we've learned at BMS is the sense of purpose for our employees. And I think what we've learned is many employees have reassessed their values in life as a result of the pandemic. And you know, at BMS, you know, we are a pharmaceutical company. We discover, develop, and deliver innovative medicines for patients, and patients that are battling some of the most serious diseases such as cancer. And bringing that purpose and that value to life, it allows our employees to resonate with something that they feel that they're doing meaningful work. And so, you know, when it comes to what gets you out of bed in the morning, if you can resonate that purpose of your organization with something that your employees believe in or believe that they're making a difference. So having a real strong purpose has been key in making sure that everybody's on that same trajectory. The second piece is what's really elevated is well-being, and in fact I read a report just last week that now states that the number one key item that any employee now looks for an organization in Hong Kong is now work-life balance. So it's really bubbling up to the top priority item that any employee will now look for in terms of an employer. More so than salary or financial security.
Amazing, right?
So we really need to think about that and what that means to creating the right culture for our employees. Certainly as we move forward at Bristol Myers Squibb, we've taken on board that the whole Monday to Friday in the office, 9 to 5, just doesn't work anymore. And employees don't want that. They've been very vocal about that. So we've now adopted, as we move forward, a 50-50 flexible working policy. So our employees can now choose to come into the office, but they can also choose to work from home on the days that maybe they don't have any meetings, or the meetings that they can do can all be online. We've also implemented some things like no meetings on a Friday afternoon, just giving our employees that thinking time to, you know, maybe get on top of their to-do list or their inbox, should I say it, or even just prepare and prioritize what are my things that I need to do for the following week. So they're kind of two high-level elements that we've really learned, and we're adapting to make sure that we are resilient and we've got enough of the right culture and the right ingredients in place for the future as we tackle it.
And it's challenging, right? Because you have to adapt. You have to shift a bit or a lot.
Absolutely. And I think the other key thing we've learned is everybody's unique. And you cannot treat your employees as one size fits all. And we definitely learned that through the pandemic of, you know, some people were at home by themselves, and so isolation was a key element they were facing. Other people at home with young children, such as myself, and homeschooling, which was as challenging itself, was trying to balance and juggle a full-time job as well. So everybody's unique, and you really need to think about how are you listening to your employees about what's important to them. And I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about how data plays that role in this panel discussion. And I think it's the right balance of the data, having the metrics that you can have a conversation about, well, what's that data telling me? But also the right balance of just getting out there and speaking to your employees, listening to them, asking them, how are they today? How are they feeling? What's on their mind? The rich information you get from the conversation as well, complemented by having some good, robust data sources to help you analyze where you should cost correct and maybe how you should move forward.
And this is a very important point. And before we go to the guys in the panel, have you had any new additions to the dashboards that you're constantly looking for, monitoring all this performance situations? Have you had these new additions? Any in particular? That
Yeah, absolutely. You know, gone are the days where, you know, as a leadership team, we have our scorecard, and you've got your sales, and you've got your OPEX, and your full P&L, and your milestones of project delivery. But absolutely equally on that is a whole set of people metrics. We have a discussion every month on those people metrics of, are we on track, are we not on track, and then having a conversation about, well, what is that data telling us, and what do we need to do about it? I think the role of the chief people officer or the human resource manager has been elevated. Employee experience has never been so important than it is today. We talked about, you know, customer experience. Most organizations are focused on what do they need to do to deliver a unique experience for their customers. Equally important now is you need to be thinking about that exact same philosophy, but internally for your employees. What do your employees need, and where are your gaps? How are you going to fill them, and how can you be competitive? Because the talent market is really tight. So you need to be thinking about how can you retain your employees, how can you keep them engaged, and so that whole employee experience is fundamental now.
Agree, totally agree. Thank you, Elaine. I think there's a lot of very important points that we have to start. Emil, what do you think about this? How about these dashboards? How about these data? How about these right assessments to get the data to take all these decisions, and particularly the point of view of these startups? At the end, we are certifying companies from 10 employees. And the thing is that many of these startup companies, they have this situation that they think they have to take care first of putting things in place for the business, and they don't take care the whole culture and environment for the people. And then when they are almost hitting the goal of the business, they hit a wall. Because they forgot about that part. Do you think?
Well, they do not have the choice, of course. You know, if they have a choice, you know, they will allocate the resources onto
Agree.
more business.
Could be.
But if it is not allocated in the right proportion, it
Yeah.
will be disastrous. Because if the culture is wrong, then it will be a big problem.
Yeah.
I always advise them not only on the staffing, but also on the system that they are using. A lot of people that ignore, for example, the accounting software. They are not using any accounting software. So when there's a chance that the investor came in the picture, they ask for the financials. Sorry, no financials. And they work overnight solely to make the statement nicely presented.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, my problem is that I started my MBA 20-something years ago. So those good old days, things change very slowly. So you can
Okay.
do once a year your staff survey or whatsoever, the appraisal, once a year, right? But the world changed over the past 20 years, much faster than we can expect it. So the turnaround time of everything, it can, when with the help of technology, it comes in days, hours, and even seconds. So if you only review the performance once a year, so it's of course it's cannot catch up with that development. So if you ask to answer your question about the dashboard, we need a much rapidly updated dashboard. I'm not really interested in all the details because you cannot cover everything.
Agree.
But
Yeah.
I have to prioritize.
Yeah.
What are the most important things? Whether the work-life balance is properly allocated, whether under the pandemic we can perform better than our competitors, so
Yeah.
that we can keep the good stuff within the entity. So these kind of questions, from time to time, I ask myself. From time to time, I find that it's not hard figures. A lot of those data are not explicit data; they are implicit one. So we have to find a way to extract those implicit knowledge or implicit component out of the environment. So that's I think I transformed it from the hard skill teaching to the soft skill one. So I'm the first one who introduced soft skill training to project management institution around 10 years ago. Those good old days, nobody interested in soft skill.
No, I know
No
exactly
idea,
what you
okay?
mean.
But
Yeah.
I said as a project director, I have to manage a lot of stuff, cross culture from different places. So there are frictions. So I ask myself, how can we improve it? Then I apply some industrial tools like neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
So that there's a common tool that we can follow. Then
Becomes a frame.
exactly, and eventually those project manager loves it because they can follow something best practice.
And they have a practical tool.
Exactly, and then lately we find that I'm partnering with PMI as well, but I included my friends run a program called Make Meaningful Work. Exactly what you mentioned about, that's the program's name. To trying to find a tool for the staff to practice. So you cannot learn these cultural change or leadership without practicing. It's somewhat like if you practice tennis or golf, you got to go to the course or dive into the water in order to swim properly. So the old style, the old dashboard that we can review without asking the staff to practice, meaningful result. So we are trying to establish something. So from startup to SME and sizable company. So that's my input. Focus not only during the digital transformation journey, focus not only onto the hard skill. Very importantly, we have to also focus on the soft skill.
Yeah. That's why it is bubbling up. You were mentioning how this human capital manager is now so relevant for the experience of the employee. And I know that startups, maybe they cannot afford this. They just cannot, but that doesn't mean they can skip it. They have to bring it somehow and put it as part of getting where they want to get. Victor, what do you have? What is your angle? I think you have a very interesting angle because you have the data.
Yes, I think I can talk from two angles. One is the data angle, and is the culture angle in response to the context today. Professor Emil just talked about digital transformation. Maybe I start from there. Jose, you mentioned about due to the COVID, due to the challenges, the landscape, industry landscape, the challenges that corporate facing are changing rapidly. So a lot of them need to change. And in this era of metaverse, blockchain, which is Professor Emil's expertise, the company need to respond. So a lot of the company, in view of the competition, they need to go through the digital transformation journey. And that journey, in order to go through, much like what you described, is remodeling the plane. Because the technology is changing, the landscape is changing, the corporate themselves need to change. But within that journey, we have actually surveyed our corporate clients, what they think are the most important factors for them to go through that journey. We have various options. We have the process, the system, the data, the people. Which element you think they rank the top? Process, system, data, people. Which one would you rank the top?
For sure, today we talk about people, right? So we
Yeah.
found
They
people.
should.
Yeah.
They should.
Yes.
Yeah.
The top two is people and data.
Mhm.
Yes. So, but even though they think people is the first and foremost important factor,
Mhm.
but when ask them how they help the people to become
Exactly.
digital ready, is actually a very difficult question to answer, as it turns out. A lot of corporate go through different paths. Some corporate, they go through the path of what they call the deep diving, because they think the technology is changing so fast, you need to catch up. We need to learn a lot of the artificial intelligence, big data, different modeling. So they need to get to the edge of the technology so that they can leverage on that. As it turns out, it actually makes it more difficult for them to go through the journey, because as for the business user, they are finding the gap bigger and bigger among their perspective and the technical team's perspective, because they're so advanced.
Mhm.
They're talking sometimes like alien language to them,
Mhm.
because they talk about the different modeling,
Mhm.
say random forest decision tree, regression model. so what is lacking in this context is the data that is readily consumable. It's not some very high-end luxury data that people cannot reach. It's
Mhm.
actually
Has to be practical.
yes,
accessible.
It's the democratization of data
There
that
you
is
go.
really neat. But how to do this is really a problem. Earlier on, you asked the question how our organization is getting ready to that change. A very interesting point in our way to empower the corporate. We have a program called DLEP, Data Literacy Empowerment Program. At the very beginning, when we talk to corporate, they are afraid that, oh, our staff may not be ready. Maybe it's too difficult for them because we work with for instance, we talk about startups. We also work with some big corporation, say 10,000 staff,
Mhm.
30,000
Mhm.
staff. They talk we have so big a variety. How can we deal with the diversity? And eventually we arrive at a very interesting point, and this is what I talked in the very beginning. We teach data without computer. So this is kind of a very interesting perspective for the
Another thing that shifted, right?
yes.
It's shifting.
And once we reach that point, the people managers start to feel comfortable. Oh yes, sounds interesting. We want to know more. And this is how we get started. We go into a very pervasive approach that everyone in the corporate can do data. That's one quote from the chief data scientist from Citigroup. He said, I don't want 200 data scientists working for me. I want our 10,000 staff in the
Yeah.
corporate, the bankers themselves, not the technical guy. Everyone doing a little bit
Yeah.
of data scientists. That would be perfect. So this code is from the chief data scientist himself. So you see, what we need is actually everyone doing that. In data context, it seems to be difficult to comprehend. But when I talk about customer service, when I quote you, everyone in the corporate, from back end to front end, need to do customer service. I think no one will disagree, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to data, somehow people think only the data scientists need to say that. That's not true at all. If you want to make it work, you need everyone to do that. And relate back to the great place to work context. We need everyone to talk about data, to consume data. I'm not talking about to produce data, as in making the database and doing analytics. It's to consume data.
Yeah.
How we use data to inform our business decision. Use data to engage our customers. Use data to present our proposal to the top management. This is everyday work.
Or to
everyday
keep the
work.
engagement going, or
Yes.
to the challenge there, and I think you start touching a few of the points that are aching in some cultures, because I don't want to say necessarily that I'm old, but definitely I'm an advanced generation, right? A lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And when data is coming, this transition to be more technological may be a little bit uncomfortable, because I do not necessarily understand full of it. This pandemic made us stay in front of the computer much more hours than we ever dreamed of,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And we're doing it now, and we are learning how to use the device, but still there's kind of a little bit of fear to get into it. Plus, in my recent conversations with a lot of managers, they've been telling me that since their understanding is a transition, but while the transition is happening, they're bringing suddenly all this data to the boardroom, to the management room, and the meetings, and they discuss 10 minutes about the content and 30 about understanding what exactly is that measuring, where is it coming, how accurate is it, can you explain, can you call somebody? Well, come on. And this is happening as well. So we're getting a lot of, and I loved what you said, a lot of data that is not practical, easy to use, easy to interpret, and easy to incorporate in your daily routines. And then you lose a lot of time, right? And what to do about avoiding this over measuring and losing the focus on, hey, it's not about measuring, it's about doing what we have to do.
Yes.
The measure is a support, the data is a support,
Right.
Victor.
Yeah, I can give you a little story.
Okay,
It's called
cool.
the missing dashboard. So one company, the CEO went to a conference to learn from Professor Yu Chen and some other expert about the AI, big data, and he said, wow, we need to leverage on that technology. So he go back to the company the very first day and asked, why we don't have those dashboards? And so he tasked the IT team, the data team, you need to make that dashboard for me. So the dashboard within 1 week is
Yes,
now up
easy.
and running.
Yeah.
And the CEO placed so much emphasis on it. It buy a 80 inches big TV to put in the hallway, so that every visitor
Yeah,
can look at it.
yeah.
So
So proud.
and it went on. And after some time, they need to do a renovation. So they renovate the whole office. And further down the road, 6 months later, one day in the meeting, someone asked a question. Where have the dashboard gone? So now the key point is after 6 months. So if the dashboard
They lost it.
is gone for 6 months, no one noticed.
Oh my God.
You see how
There you
important
go.
it is.
Yeah.
And I start ask the question, what is the missing link? The CEO initiated this one, right?
Yeah.
The technical team worked light and depth within
Yeah.
1 week to rush it out. Why no one is using? It's because the missing link is in the context that Jose just said. Because the business team was consulted. but they were not so familiar with the data language themselves. So they do not know how to request for the right data that is beneficial to their business without further input. And the IT team was rushing to that so that they make from their own perspective without too much context from the business side. So that is the missing link, and that's why the dashboard is not used after all. So we refer back to Jose's question. In the workplace, it's very similar. So when we make decisions, what are the data that's really relevant, which is within context? That's a big, big question before we can even consider to use the data. So the assessment from Great Place to Work, right, is relevant to the context, for example. That really makes the data that is relevant. I think every data is useful at some point, but some data are particularly useful. So when people talk about we need to measure by data, yes, all right, you can measure anything. But you need to ask the front row question, is it relevant? How important is to the context of the development of the company or to the needs? So that is the question we need to ask.
Exactly, Victor. That's a very, very useful story. And let me get now to Elaine about this situation, because I was saying that corporates normally they also bring these changes out of the blue, and you just receive the instruction and there's a new set of indicators that you are not fully aware, or as I was saying, they're not necessarily fitting the context or the culture locally and things like that. So have you experienced anything like this, and how are you adapting, coping about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've fortunately worked across 4 different continents and many different cultures. And at BMS we moved from an annual employee survey from early 2020 we kicked off it, so it was deployed quarterly, so every 3 months, to give us some more frequent tangible data to assess, which is great to have that data more frequent. But it's still, how that individual completes that survey on that given day could be influenced by many factors, many factors, how they are feeling, whether they're in work that day, how their projects,
circumstances.
Absolutely. So it's that balance of the data that you receive and then also putting, as you say, into the local context in how one individual in the US, for example, might have completed that individual question in a very different mindset, a different way, or has interpreted the question differently in different cultures and different countries. So we use our surveys as a data source, but it absolutely has to be complemented by the dialogue and the conversation. Because as I said, how you interpret that question could be very, very different. So we encourage and we do some deep dive workshops of using the data, but asking our employees, well, what exactly does that mean to you? And then trying to tease out some examples of how does that show up for you, and then starting to brainstorm, well, what could we do if there's a particular score that maybe we want to improve on? Well, what does that, how can we improve on that, or what does that mean to that individual or that group of people? But another great data source was, of course, the Great Places to Work survey that we took part in as well. And I'd love to hear from you, Jose, about how that's evolving, because it's definitely a data source that we use as an organization.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're trying to do is to make it more accessible, and not only to the top management.
Right.
And now we are offering that all your managers can sign in to the online report, and they can see only their data compared to the data of the whole organization, so they can have comparisons and all that. But we want to avoid this effect, the over measuring or keeping the people too busy interpreting instead of jumping into action, jumping into the dialogue that you're talking about. And we're also offering all our customers that when you buy the package, you can do the assessment as many as 4 times per year, right? And this is, you mentioned cultural. we have offices. We are working in different countries, and one of these countries, they're working with a tool now. They're being experimenting for the past 3 years, actually the middle of COVID, to do the survey daily. But the way it's done is not a push. It's not sent, hey, you need to answer this before 2 weeks. No, you receive, you have an open app where you can capture the situation that day is relevant to you specifically. And of course, the data analysis is a bit more complex, because then you have to collect and do a lot of calibrations to get the right ponderation of everything. But it's super interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because then, as you were mentioning as well, Emil, is not something that happens once a year. And when you're talking about it, when you finally gather to talk about it, it's already 3 months ago from something that actually we already solved, right? So it's not even alive now. And what you need is, because things, and I'm quoting you, things are moving that fast, that if you don't have data to react on time about many things, you lose the opportunity, right? Emil, you
Right.
want to elaborate about that?
Well, it is not only restricted to staffing and the internal matters, because this is how the outside world is doing. Because if you have to maintain your competitive edge, you got to react as fast as your competitor. So the
Very
commercial
important
data
point. Yeah.
are moving that fast.
Mm-hmm.
It somehow is quite funny that particularly in Hong Kong, the local situation, while we are asking for say for example algo trade, that is a high frequency trade, that's the trend, but in Hong Kong at the back office we are still using cash, check, all those traditional way to settle the
Even the
transaction.
books,
Yeah, and then you print every, say in the government, they still tend to print out all incoming messages and stamp
Yeah.
on it. So in such a way, we are talking about digital transformation. So if we are not measuring the individual staff performance or their mindset, or in general the culture in the proper way, there's no chance for such a corporate to transform, because they are still believe that the working model, the old model, is the best practice. The best practice cannot be changed.
Yeah.
So in such a way, what I observe is that during the digital transformation journey, the problem is since the external environment change, but the corporate cannot adapt to it. What will happen is somewhat like a factory, which is producing top quality products. So they have segregation of duty, they have all those production line, everything perfectly arranged for a decade. What if that kind of product is already dated, the product life cycle already ended? Can you still claim that you are the best? Of course, when Kodak filed Chapter 11, they are still making the best film on earth. But so what? Nobody are going to buy those films because we have digital cameras.
Yeah.
So in such a case, to measure or to apply the same logic to workforce or to these meaningful work, you got to use a reinvent, change that model of the aircraft. Otherwise, you are still find that old propeller one, and then how can you compete with your competitors?
Turbojets.
I want to add on to that actually. Jose, you mentioned a very interesting scenario that people input the data daily, right? You said. In our work, in promoting data literacy, we talk about data mindset and how to cultivate data mindset among corporate individuals. We talk about how to speak, think, and act with data as the basis of the data mindset. And within how to act with data, we talk about data habits. Eventually, if you want something to stick, you make it a habit. And how to make a habit, you do it daily. It's
Yeah.
just like you brush
Yeah.
your teeth,
Yeah.
you tie your shoelace.
Yeah.
This is how you make the data happen. So it's very intriguing that you ask the staff to input it in a much more frequent way. And this is what we do as well. In our program, we'll guide the participants how to use data in each and every aspect of their daily work. Say like they make decisions, they make presentations. So we try to instill the data mindset in each and every bit of their work so that it becomes a habit. Just as what you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in the workplace, right? That engagement, the feelings of the staff, yeah, it comes naturally at a certain moment. Past that point, the data become irrelevant because
Yes.
data is timely,
Yeah.
timely to the moment. So if you make your measurement reflecting
All
where
the
the data
variables.
happened, yes,
Yeah.
it actually eventually becomes a data habit that people stick to. So this is what I want to add to.
No, and
Yeah.
it's relevant because in this way we can capture seasonalities,
Yes.
right? How things trend to be
Yes.
lower when, I don't know, we're coming back from the summer holidays, right?
Yeah.
The people tend to be a little bit more slow to
Yeah.
get the momentum
Yeah.
going. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or Chinese New Year, right? So
Yeah.
before Chinese New Year, between Christmas and Chinese New Year in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
oh my God, everybody's partying. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody has
yeah.
a high spirit.
I actually got a question back to you.
Yeah.
So how do you balance the sample size and the point of measurement? Because if you scatter around, the measurement may be quite discrete and the sample size become quite small within that period. So how are you handling this?
We don't do samples.
Okay.
It's everybody. Everybody has to be included.
So everyone do it daily?
Yes.
Wow.
The thing, well,
Yeah.
daily and in the
Yeah.
experience that
Yes, yes.
Bristol Myers had as well. The thing is, it comes from another angle.
Yeah.
What we say is, if it's really a great place to work,
Yeah.
everybody has to be considered.
Right, right.
Right.
Everybody has the right to say, hey,
Yeah.
I think this,
Right.
even though at the end, statistically, there's going to be a curve, outliers,
Yes,
and a
definitely,
norm.
yeah.
Agree. But I don't care.
But
I
it's-
want to say my point of view. And this
Right.
is very important from the management point of view. Everybody's included, and I care about each and every one of you to tell us what is it that you're experiencing. At the end, the data analysis will give trends and
Right.
norms and outliers, yes. But everybody felt
Yeah.
considered,
Yes.
and that
more,
is,
more accurate.
yes.
And also I want to add one point for the big data world. We call it the different data set. We call it variety of data.
Yeah, right.
So in the past, we only capture the data by the form they filled or by the assessment.
Yeah.
But these days, in terms of credit data check, ESG data check, we have IoT.
Yes.
So we use the robot,
Yeah.
the eye, the
Yeah,
ears,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or the sensors.
There's a
you know,
lot of
the
experiments
robot.
about it, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
on one hand, and the other part is that in the old days, those captured data are stored in a centralized database, which is somehow unreliable because it is from your agency, it's
Yes.
from your
Yes.
external customer.
Yes.
You cannot trust those data. But if there's such a device being used and store the data on a decentralized manner, so all those data will be reliable. So if we match those data with your fonts,
Calligraphy or
and then
Yeah.
so there will be, if there's a discrepancy,
Yeah.
the outliner will be different because you are more scientific. So I think in the next 4 to 5 years time, not only on our employee measurement, there will be more this kind of model from particularly credit data, the alternative
Yes.
credit data. They are using the behavior,
Yes.
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
to gauge, the credit rating.
yeah, which
So-
a lot of people doesn't like, but
But
it is what is happening, right?
well, you are just mimic customer service
Preferential.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they just Because the eyes, the ears are not within a human being,
Yes, yes.
but with the robots.
Yes, yes.
Anytime, anywhere.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's a trend. I think there might be more such a live example. I think in the upcoming years, so that we merge or overlay the traditional data, which is using the traditional measurement, with the AI, blockchain, IoT type of data.
Cool.
Say, particularly on a construction site, you it's not that easy to ask.
Yeah.
Those construction.
Yeah. Workers.
They are the workers. Probably they are temporary, and then you cannot ask all of them to come back and do the same because they are on project base. So, but if you have the devices in their hamlet, their movement,
Capturing data.
how much time they taken a rest, how much time they enjoy the coffee, then you can have such a full picture, about the measurement. So I think for data, let data talk, in such a way, and by collecting different types of data.
Yeah, I could talk a lot about that because we're doing so many experiments and we're learning from our customers doing amazing experiments. Some of them so invasive that actually they failed dramatically because the people felt, hey, no,
Right.
leave me alone. What about data privacy? And a lot of these issues got in the way. And but also, once they get to understand how useful it can be and how it comes back to them, because when we are giving the aggregated data to the management of the company and giving advice of how to use it and discuss it to transform it into an action plan, right?
Yeah.
We are always telling our customers, the management team, is a very responsible thing that you have to do something about it. If you don't do anything
Yes.
about
What's the point of measuring?
the people will say, well, so I filled a survey and nothing happened.
Yeah.
There's no change. There's
Your
no
dashboard
dialogue
in
about
the
it.
boardroom.
Exactly.
Yeah. No
The
one uses it.
dashboard
It's
gets
very
lost.
frustrating. Yes.
Right? And nobody does anything. No. Then next time that you ask me, well, I will do this robotic answering, which is irrelevant at all, completely.
I think maybe one element to add is, and maybe slightly controversial, data, absolutely, data is good, and teasing out the insights from that data. But you've also got to balance, and you talked about it earlier a little bit, Jose, about the over-analysing and the over-measuring. As soon as employees start to feel like Big Brother is watching every single move of them, that can have a very disengaging impact negatively on a culture.
Definitely.
And definitely, when we look at our culture and we engage in a culture that we want to empower employees. So very much get everybody behind what is your goal or what is your mission, but giving people a sense of autonomy and empowerment to do their role. You got to have that right balance rather than, measuring. I get that there's advantage of getting data daily, but just making sure that you're using it in the right way and not disengaging people and your employees.
Definitely.
You have a very, very important point there, and this is what I refer to. These experiments that have happened have failed dramatically because of that, right? In one of our summits that happens, global summits, they happen once a year. We did something that was super cool because we invited the people to tell a camera about their working experience in a minute and a half, just speaking to the camera. The camera happened to be a robot that was able to capture a lot of tiny things of the gestures and this and that. The people that were in front of that camera sharing their working experience, they were fully aware, well, what we are going to do with your sharing is that we are going to analyze it and give you, to you, for your eyes only, what a robot can catch about your mood, your how truthful it is, how trustable, how reliable. And it was amazing because we had in this event around 4,000 people, and around 1,000 went through this. There were queues, and I was like, wow, interesting. And there was a workshop in which they shared what they thought about this and how they felt about it. And the big point I want to share about this is that many of them said, well, if I'm going to do it voluntarily, knowing that whatever this will get and will be reported or shared to my management, if I know that my management will react positively in favor of whatever I need, I'm all for it, because I want that.
I want to
right?
express.
And that is where the middle point is so important. There has to be a full commitment from the management to do something, to do it constructively, to do it proactively sometimes, to cater the feedback that they are collecting, right? And I think that is the sweet spot of balance of all this.
Yeah.
Very appreciated, and well, let's see. We are going to get a lot of people inspired. Thanks for the added value of your contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, Jose, and our panelists for the discussion with great insights. Now, let me introduce to you Mr. Chris Sun, JP, Secretary for Labour and Welfare, Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Thank you for supporting Great Place to Work, Mr. Sun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to join you at the 7th Best Workplaces in Hong Kong 2022 award ceremony. I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to all award-winning companies. Workplace is more than just a place for work. If you discount the time we sleep, for those of us who work, we spend a significant part of our active time at workplace. Apart from work, we also socialize, learn, and grow at our workplace. A great workplace not only brings in more profit to employers, it also makes the employees happier and also healthier. Employer-employee relationship is not a zero-sum game. Rather, it is a collaborative and interactive process with a feeding loop that will amplify and reward those who adopt good practices, but at the same time, punish those who fail to build harmonious employer-employee relationship. Great companies are great for a variety of reasons, but almost universally, there is a common theme running through them, i.e., they all adopt good and harmonious employer-employee relationship. The government has all along been encouraging employers to adopt good human resource management and also family-friendly measures. Over the years, we have put in resources to promote and also raise awareness on this front. We are glad to observe that more and more companies are adopting family-friendly measures and also adopting good human resource management practices. Apart from promotion, it is also incumbent upon the government to strengthen employee rights and benefits in the legal means. The economic success of our economy owes much to the contribution and hard work of millions of employees. As our economy grows, employees should benefit from the wealth creation process in the form of improved rights and benefits. Some of the notable improvements the government has introduced in recent years include increasing paternity leave from 3 to 5 days, increasing maternity leave from 10 weeks to 14 weeks, with the additional 4 weeks being reimbursable by the government, subject to a maximum monthly payment of not more than 80,000 Hong Kong dollars, as well as increasing progressively the statutory holidays from 12 to 17 by the end of this decade. In closing, I would like to congratulate the award-winning companies of this ceremony once again. I'm sure they will keep up with their excellent work on creating a great workplace for their employees. And I look forward to more and more companies joining their ranks and reap the reward of creating great workplaces that are not just profitable to employers, but also enjoyable to employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sun, for your kind messages and words. Now, please allow me to introduce Anna Yao, our research analyst, who will give us an overview of the key findings of this year's study.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this virtual award ceremony of the best workplaces in Hong Kong. I'm Anna Yao, the business analyst of Great Place to Work Greater China, and I'm responsible for the Trust Index survey implementation and also the generation of all the best workplaces lists like the one we are presenting in this occasion. In the coming couple of minutes, I'm happy to share with all of you some insights and observations we have from the awardees of the best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. First of all, how do we measure and evaluate culture in an organization? As the global authority of workplace culture, Great Place to Work leads the industry with the most vigorous database model for quantifying employee experience, the Great Place to Work model. Since 1992, we have surveyed more than 100 million employees around the world and used those deep insights to define what makes a great workplace: trust. Our 30 years of continual research have proven that the definition of a great workplace is one where employees trust the people they work for, have pride in what they do, and enjoy the people they work with. By carefully collecting and analyzing all employees' perceptions of their working experiences, we can recognize great workplaces that pay much effort and succeed in building and maintaining a trusting workplace for all. This year, according to the Global Policy Alignment of Great Place to Work, Best Workplaces in Hong Kong 2022 only publishes the top 10 companies. The average trust index score of the awardees is 92. For the top 3 on our list, their average even goes up to 96. What an amazing achievement! Congratulations! Now, let's look at the trust index by dimensions with last year's Taiwan and Greater China top results. Much like any other relationship, the employer-employee relationship needs a foundation of trust, and to thrive, there must be a sincere sense of care and support. Widespread well-being in companies among their people starts with an understanding of who your people are and what type of support they need. Once employees are having a consistently positive experience across key areas that contribute to employee well-being, namely mental and emotional support, sense of purpose, and meaningful connections that can flourish inside and outside of work. While COVID-19 has forever changed the way we work, the best businesses are stepping up to support their employees as they navigate out of the woods. The best went beyond perks to create aspirational workplaces. They foster a culture of inclusion, purpose, genuine listening, and caring and empathy. Let's look at each of them one by one. Home life spilled into work life in unprecedented ways. Parents became home teachers overnight, many having to choose between their children and their jobs. Lockdowns lead to an alarming spike in domestic violence. Burnout raged and mental health suffered. The best learned to pivot and adapt to the workforce challenges of today. They took a holistic view of workers to support their full lives, which includes their families, communities, and personal lives outside of work. Employees are encouraged to bring their authentic selves to work. Crisis triggers reflections and introspections as people tend to search for meaning and purpose in times of uncertainty and deprivation. From the ongoing trend of great resignation, workers have reevaluated their lives and are quitting to find more rewarding jobs, take career sabbaticals, or start their own businesses. People want to spend their time in meaningful ways. Purpose is how you define and make sense of yourself in this world. Leaders at great workplaces understand that purpose is not found in a mission statement buried in an employee handbook. Rather, they actively help employees connect with what they do with the company's purpose. And when purpose as work also align with an employee's personal purpose, which is to do much more than just work, but grow, learn, and take care of their family and community. They will be more engaged, motivated, loyal, and proud of their company. Best companies support employees through various listening sections to better understand them. They ask, what is your story? What is it like to be you? What more can we do? Echoing our theme this year, having a listening strategy is an essential part of creating positive employee experience. Leaders need to be able to hear employees' feedback and respond to their needs to build a company culture where employees feel valued, listen deeply in a variety of ways. Employee surveys are one of the most powerful tools in any listening strategy because they, first, provide quantitative data that can guide action planning. Second, uncover inconsistencies in experience between different groups of employees. Furthermore, engage organizations to objectively compare their employee experience to the experience at other organizations. Caring and understanding do not mean offering a meditation app or a one-size-fits-all policy like working from home. It might in part, but it depends on your people. Genuine empathy can be as simple as managers saying it's okay not to be okay. Care about your colleagues about who they are and what's happening off screen with them now. It's difficult to trust someone if you don't feel that they trust you. So management should consistently seek out opportunities to make employees feel trusted and valued. Here are some strengths of this year's awardees. Again, they are doing well in inclusion and belonging. We can see that great workplaces embrace diverse individuals and care about everyone's well-being as part of the team. Statements marked with a star were also nominated as the top statements last year. Next, let's look at the area for improvement. Besides those related to payment and shared profit, these statements also score relatively low on average. From the star symbols, you can see that new issues that ranked about this year are more related to the unique benefits in the workplace and management's capability to assign and coordinate jobs. The concern about the coordination and assignment may be one of the obvious hurdles when employees are gradually resuming to the office or having a hybrid way of working. In Greater China, this is our second year to produce a best workplaces list using the new For All model, which builds on the idea that everyone at the best workplaces should have a consistently positive experience regardless of their background or position. We are convinced that for organizations evolving at a high pace of change in the future, an innovation by our culture is necessary to equip organizations and leaders to succeed. We are focusing on innovation as a very needed ability to cope with changes, renew policies and practices, enhance resilience, and keep the business reaching its goals. This will be a continuous improvement process. Great Place to Work aims to have a process of keeping you well informed about the key indicators of how things are progressing in your cultures and how to focus on little details that make huge differences in levels of trust. Thank you very much and congratulations to all the awardees of the Best Workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. Hope to see you all next year. Cheers!
Thank you so much, Anna, for those very interesting results and highlights. Next, we have Justine Tong, our Marketing Director, to talk about the best practices of employee engagement during COVID-19. So we think it's really important to highlight outstanding practices done by a few of our customers during these difficult times. We're very interested in learning from you and taking your inquiries around any specific topics that interest your companies, so please reach out to us and send us an email.
During COVID-19, our client recognized that communication is key to make sure everyone is in the same page and working towards a common goal. They have an intranet portal which serves as a company news source and also a recognition program where company announcements are posted and all leaders and team members share stories of great work and notes of appreciation. Human Resources sends out a weekly email communication with update. Each quarter, The president and CEO records a video with company-wide updates, which is available for every team member to watch. They also have a very active Instagram page where they share company updates and give behind-the-scenes look at life. And every team member is welcome and encouraged to follow. In addition, video calls are taking place quarterly with the senior leadership team, which reveals quarterly business results and allow time for team members to question. Each week, team members at every level have a one-on-one meeting with their leader, where team members can have open dialogue with their leader about any issues or concerns, as well as provide updates on areas that are going well.
Thank you so much, Justine. Very interesting practices indeed. And now let my colleague Alicia Tong, COO, tell you a very special and strategic project in Greater China, the Best Workplaces for Women certification. This is also a certification done across Europe, US, Canada, just to mention some, so please have a look.
Best Workplaces for Women is one of the newer awards that we're introducing to this part of the world. Started 2020, it is no more a certificate, but it has become a formal award, which shows how much we value organizations that achieve in this particular area. This award recognizes the organizations strive practices their best in diversities, equalities, and inclusions. Since 2020 to date, the number of organizations going after this recognition doubled every year. How encouraging is the trend? I'm proudly announcing the winners in 2022. They are
And now, I hope you're all ready and excited as we are. With the help of my colleague, Cristina Vallejo, our project manager, we will present now the first block of 7 awardees. Over to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Shane. And now, we're going to mention our top 10 companies in the 2022 Best Workplaces in Hong Kong. And starting with company number 10 is Bristol Myers Squibb. Congratulations, well done.
Okay, so Elaine, it is my pleasure to recognize Bristol Myers Squibb as one of the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. Big congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you. I'm absolutely honored to receive this award for the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong in 2022. I'm absolutely delighted on behalf of all of our employees at Bristol Myers Squibb to receive this recognition on our first time participating in this survey and this award. At BMS, we discover, develop and deliver innovative medicines to truly transform patients' lives for such serious diseases as cancer. And our purpose in prevailing to achieve that mission, with all the people that are dedicated and have a passion behind that mission, it is our honor to receive this. So thank you so much.
Our pleasure. What we do is actually just recognize who has been doing an amazing job, just like you and your team. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And our next company is Cisco Systems Hong Kong Limited. You're leading the way. Well done, Cisco.
All right, so it's the turn of Cisco. We are celebrating with Cisco as one of the 10 top best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. and we are with Wilson Ching, and we are very, very excited and very happy for you and for your team, Wilson. We are very happy that you keep on leading, keep on being at the spearhead, and this is really, really exciting. So virtually, regretfully still, but please accept our recognition to you, to your team, and big congratulations, Wilson and Cisco.
Thank you, Jose, and I'm very pleased to receive the Great Place to Work award again this year. People, it's one of the most important strategy within Cisco. I'm very happy and pleased to receive the award, actually on behalf of the whole Cisco Hong Kong family. This is not just like the result of one person, it's the result for the whole team, the whole Cisco Hong Kong family. We create the culture in Cisco Hong Kong family. We create the best workplaces together with the team in the Cisco Hong Kong family. So we are very pleased to receive the award, and we continue to look forward to evolve and create a better workplace for our team.
Congratulations again, Wilson and Cisco.
Thank you.
Next company in our list is Infineon Technologies Hong Kong. Congratulations. Our next company in the list is Maersk. Congratulations, Maersk. Well done. And now we have Major Trading Ltd. Congratulations, Major. Our next company in the list is NVIDIA. Congratulations, NVIDIA. And now we have Stryker Hong Kong. You're leading the way. Well done, Stryker. Now, I'm going to ask the CEO of our company, Jose Carlos Bezzanilla, to go ahead and give you the top 3 companies in our 2022 Hong Kong Best Workplaces. Please, Jose.
Well, we are getting to this moment in which we are going to mention the top 3. I know we're giving you the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022, and they are presented in alphabetical order, but we always have to point out who made it to the top 3. All right? So I'm going to do it in reverse order, and I'm pretty sure once I start saying the names, you will start guessing who made it to the first. But without further ado, let's go to it. And in the 3rd place, we have an amazing company, Tata Communications. Congratulations, Tata. Amazing job. And in 2nd place, and I know when I say second, then the name of the 2nd organization, number 1 will jump out of the chair and cheer and celebrate. Just let me remind you one thing that is super important. This is not a competition, all right? You're not competing against each other. You are competing internally to create an amazing workplace. And that is the key of all this. We are recognizing the amazing job you're doing. And that's what it's all about. Without delay, let's go to number 2, which is DHL Express. Congratulations, DHL Express Hong Kong. Amazing job again. Okay, so it's turn to call to the virtual stage to an amazing organization that is making it to the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. And it's my honor to introduce and to acknowledge Mr. Chi Chong from DHL Express. Congratulations, Mr. Chi Chong and DHL Express team. You've done an amazing job. The mic is yours, Mr. Chi Chong, please.
Well, thank you. Great Place to Work for nominating and giving us this award. I'm very conscious that I'm accepting this award on behalf of all the great staff that we have who have really been with us all this time during the pandemic moments. Thank you very much, and really thank you, everyone.
And of course, number 1, the number 1 of the top 10 best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022 is an amazing company that did a really good job, worked really hard, and it's the first time in our list and made it all the way to the number 1, Insights Hong Kong. Congratulations, guys. Amazing job you did. Keep it up, lead on, spread these the news. There's a lot of people that will be looking forward to learn about all of you. Top 10, the top 3, top number 1. We need to be spreading the news, inspiring the people, inspiring leaders to be better workplaces all around. Congratulations, Insight. All right, so we are here today with Insight, one of the winners of the best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022. Eddie,
thank you, Jose.
You.
Thank you, Jose. Yes, and thank you. Great Place to Work. I'm very proud of getting this, and this is not for me. This is for the whole Insight Hong Kong team.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I agree.
Yep.
Let me give you also the certificate.
Sure.
Your hands full.
Yeah, thank you.
Your hands full.
Thank you. My pleasure to have you visit our office.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy the journey here.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
again.
you.
Congratulations to all the best workplaces in Hong Kong 2022, and especially to the legends and the top 3 of this year. Thank you to all the people who made this possible, our sponsor Open Cert Hub Academy, and our supporting organizations who are the Association of Cloud and Mobile Computing Professionals, Habitat for Humanity, UFO Academy, and Bristol Myers Squibb. Our media partners, CT Good Jobs and PR Newswire. Please follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and post your pictures and videos while tagging us #GreatPlaceToWork. Don't forget, we have our award ceremony for Taiwan towards the end of summer. And if circumstances allow, we'll do a live event in December for the best workplaces in Greater China 2022. So stay tuned for updates. Thank you all. This has been an amazing and historical experience. Keep it up, stay safe, and see you all next year. Stay tuned for the bloopers.